CHD.
CHD?
No.
Yeah.
On BMWyatt.
Huh?
BMWyatt.
Yeah. That's true.
Thank you.
I heard your mom.
You got it?
And her email address is BMWyatt@yahoo.com. And she'll probably give that to you again later on in the program. Ms. Wyatt is currently an employee with the South Cobb Regional Branch of the Cobb County Library System. So she's one of our own. So please help us welcome Ms. Brenda Wyatt.
It was one of the kids, well, the passion for the kids when they actually come into the library, and they would always say, they were so excited about getting that first card. And that was my first illustrated book called Dorian, First Visit to the Public Library. And that one was 4 years ago. But still, what I had to learn was to finish one project before I started another. I had so many. And that's what a lot of us make the mistake. We keep going from one thing to the other. So what I had to do was slow down and complete one project. And then I said, okay, what I'm going to do at this point. And this really is what I want to share with everybody, how to go from start to finish. So now, the other thing, our biggest fear, because we're our worst fear, not having the finance to do what we want to do, or our agent. That shouldn't stop me, because I had neither of those things. No money, unemployed, love my job, here though. But every night I would go home, I would write. I would write my story and put it in writing. So actually what happened was, unfortunately, I had an accident. That slowed me down even more. So during that time is when I actually completed my first project. I started drawing. I was sneaking drawing and stuff too, probably at work sometime. But my one of the employees here, she inspired me. She said, "This is really good. Make sure you complete it." And I did. So then I said, I want to get it published. How do I get it published? And I can't afford it, you know. And you heard all the horror stories about people getting stuff published and nothing happened with it. Well, I talk to the people as they come in. And a lot of people have done it. They have published books, but then they just sit there. You got to be your own person to market your work. I market myself. I went out there, everybody I can come in contact with, I told them about my work. If there was an event that I could get involved with where I could show my work, I was there. So I did my own footwork because I went through the self-publishing route, and that can be good and bad if you don't know how to use it at your advantage. But what I did was, you got to research these companies, because a lot of the self-publishing companies you might research, they're not really doing no more than you can do yourself. So I kept researching, and I kept going around until I found one that sounded like it was what I wanted. Little by little, I when it was completed, that's when I started doing the marketing for myself. I didn't just want to write a children's book, because when I write, I like to inspire children. So I got it's like I go through a process. My first visit to the public library was not the first one I published. The two that I did were There Is No Son, and My Brother Jordy Had Lost His Spot, all of his senses. This one is my top book because it teaches children about the 5 senses. This book was inspired because there wasn't a lot of books in the library on this subject. So that's what started me on this one. And just as I was going to complete this book, my brother passed away. So that's how the name Jordy came about. So I dedicated this book to him. Now this book here, I love this one. There Is No Santa doesn't actually mean there is no Santa. But what it was inspired was my son. Overhearing him telling his little cousins there was no Santa, Mom and Daddy was Santa. So this is a great book for kids who at an age where they want to say, Mom, is there a Santa, is not a Santa? I think this is a good book to let them read. Now, me myself, how do I write my books? One of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you get inspired to write a book? I can write a book about you guys today, because something that catches my attention about what's happening around me, and I'm like, wow, that's a good book. Then I gotta go write it down. Sometimes I illustrate my books. I do the illustration first. Let me go back a little bit. As far as illustrating my own work, one day I said, you can draw, you can do your own illustrations. So I started doing my own illustration, and in the last 4 years, I think, pretty good at it. After I did my first few, and right now I think I got probably 20 books illustrated and written, ready to be published. But I'm being smart about how I do them. For somebody still, a young lady asked me, she said, but I still don't know how to do it, how to get it all together. I got it in my head, but I don't know how to put it together. So what I wanted to do is give you an example how I do it. This is what I do. This is my next published book, and it's called Story Time with Judy Ann Bear. This Judy Ann is our librarian here, and she does story time. I remember when she first started out, it was probably about 4 or 5 kids. Now it's probably about 50 kids. Now, I would watch these kids going back to story time, and I was just so impressed with them and inspired, I decided to do a book on her because she's great at what she's done, what she does. So this is Miss Judy Ann Bear. This is her grandson. And actually all the other animals throughout the book, they're her little patrons that come in with permission of their parents who said it was okay for me to do this project. This book is ready to go, really. And when you get a chance, you can all come up and look at it. The other thing about writing children's books is that they got to be child-friendly. You want the kids to be able to relate to it. So when I create my images, I make sure they're bold images and stuff that kids would really want to complete and finish. And I test them out on children too. I would give them to the children and let them read them. And if they'll read the whole book, then I know I'm on to something. When I got one book that I'm working on called Princess Peaches. I did the illustration first. I had no idea what the story was going to be about, but I just started drawing these pictures. And by the time I got to about 15 pictures, then I went back and created the story. So it can go both ways for me. For a person who don't know how to illustrate, write the story. But write them page by page. And that will help you to really see what you're doing. I'm a visual person. I can't think it in my head and just leave it. I have to put it on paper. So like this story, Grandma Millie Have Alzheimer's was a story because children, a lot of children deal with their grandparents with Alzheimer's. And I wanted to do a story on that. So what I do is, normally the last thing I do is my cover page, but on this one I did it. So just page 3 each page. it's set up like a book. And that's what you want to do. Start out with your first thought, put it on paper, put a storyline about it. Then when you go to the next page, and when you're doing children's books, from what I understand, at least do 24-page book. You want to do a 24-page book. Then you do, a lot of times companies will work with your cover page. So if you don't have a cover page or whatever, or sometimes you're surprised who you know can do your illustration. Your own children can probably do the illustration. Like my granddaughter is 9. She likes to write, and she's good at it. And I just found this out this summer. So we're working on a project with her. Watch your children, see what they do. And I met a lot of children through the library who also like to draw. And there was two little boys. One draw and one write. The one that write was the younger one. But I'm telling the parent, put them together. And be creative with your children. Pay attention to what they do, because they're really good at what they do. But, so like I said, with my books, getting it published. So after I actually found a publishing company, worked with them, we made arrangements, I did it on a payment plan, because that was the only way I could afford it. But once it was completed, they're not going to do the work for you. Now it's your time to really do the work. You got to market your product, and you got to keep marketing. The more you market it, then you get the feedback. Fortunate for me, and the grace of God, my books are in the public library now. They are in Cobb County Library system. And they were purchased through the system. And basically because of the quality of the work. Because I would go, now, the biggest cost on this, which is my daughter here, would get on me every time because I would run about some ink, and it's my last $20. And she'd be like, well, why do you want to spend money on that ink? Because I can see my vision. And I think one of the other things that you will find out that your friends and family will disappoint you more than anybody. And they would make you lose your dream. Don't let nobody make you lose your dream. I should have done this at least 15 years ago because I was really good back then. But, and as a friend or family member, just to let you know when someone come up and they have a desire to do something, encourage them and show some kind of interest in it. Because the first thing a person would do, if I showed you my work, and you look at it and say, oh, okay, girl, did you know? I'm going through and going through and going through until I completed it. And like now, there's not a night that go past that I'm not writing or drawing, you know, finishing up something. But I learned to complete everything I do before I go to the next project. And that's the main thing. The other thing is, I had it scheduled for a young lady, she's going to come in and actually read it. And I also want to make sure that when I do books that they're the right level for the children that I'm marketing, that I'm targeting. You got to know what target. Like, you got beginner readers, you got JP readers. So you got to know what level you want to do if you're doing children's books. And all the way up to young adult books. So, read everything. Now, if you want to do children's books, you got to read children's books. You got to see what the children are reading. And then see what's not there for them. And then maybe that might be your market. If you want to do young adults, then read young adult books. Read, and read some more.